There we go. All right, Pinky. Can you see this?
Yes.
See these stars?
Yeah.
These are the stardust flows. They come down through our body. See how these stars poke up into the next level?
Yes.
The tall points.
Yes.
That's how the densities connect. And in here is where we have our inorganic Tanaki meme brain or goat brain, which is a meme. The Guardians define a meme as, let me see, where is the definition of the meme? It is a self-replicating idea, which is what you were describing earlier about the assimilation program.
And then, yeah, the assimilation programs.
All right, so from Wikipedia, mimetics is a theory of mental content based on an analogy with Darwinian evolution, originating from Dawkins, purports to be an approach to evolutionary models of cultural information transfer. Cultural information transfer. A meme analogous to a gene was conceived as a unit of
Can we
culture.
pause? Can we pause right there?
Yeah.
The fact that they literally say analogous to a gene.
This is epigenetics. These memes are basically what it has become our epigenetic overlay, which is like if our genes are a keyboard, the epigenetic overlay are the fingers that decide how those genes get played or expressed.
Yeah.
Right. And so this is all has to do with the mental body.
Wow.
So it's conceived as a unit of culture, an idea, belief, pattern of behavior, etc., which is hosted in one or more individual minds, and which can reproduce itself, thereby jumping from mind to mind. Thus, what would otherwise be regarded as one individual influencing another to adopt a belief is seen, when adopting the intentional stance, as an idea replicator, reproducing itself in a new host. As with genetics, particularly Dawkinson interpretation, a meme's success may be due to its contribution to the effectiveness of its host, but it's also very notable, we have to note, mimetics sidesteps the traditional concern with the truth of ideas and beliefs and is instead interested only in their success. Success as defined by how many times does it replicate? How far does it spread? The truth of the idea or belief is irrelevant. And a schema would be a collection of memes, essentially. So in the psychology, this is just defined as an organized pattern of thought or behavior. Can be described as mental structure of preconceived ideas, a framework representing some aspect of the world, or a system of organizing and perceiving new information. Schemata influence attention and the absorption of new knowledge. So this has everything to do like with our reticular activating system. Are you familiar with that?
I've heard
The
of it, but I don't know
RAS.
what it is.
Yeah, so it's the part of our neurological system. It is the filter that decides what you perceive. So
What you consciously perceive.
yes, because there's all kinds of stimulus happening around us right now, and we perceive a small percentage of it.
Yeah.
So like a real life example of this would be like when you're in a crowded room, a very noisy, like you're at the club and it's really crowded. You could, if someone yells your name, you pick it out. That's your reticular activating system. It's saying, oh, I am perceiving something that I know Erin wants to pay attention to that. That's a noise that's her name. So it lets me perceive that. It makes sure that that noise above all others gets heard by my brain. And it decides what does not get perceived by your brain. So when you are talking about schema, you're literally talking about you program your reticular activating system with your beliefs and your preconceived ideas, and all of that is literally the program of your reticular activating system deciding, that's how it decides what you're going to be able to perceive and what's important to you to perceive and what is not. So if you do not believe in fairies, you're never ever going to see one, because your reticular act, even if they appear right in front of you, your RAS will filter them out because you don't believe they exist.
There is a type of therapy called schema therapy, and when I've explained the type of coaching that I do to a few people, they've told me that it sounds exactly like schema therapy. And I've never been trained in it, and I never even knew what it was until just a few months ago. But now that I know what it is, yeah, that is kind of the main foundation from which I offer coaching.
Yep.
I help people with recognize the programs that their reticulating act, I don't even know how to say
RAS, yeah.
their RAS is operating from, and encourage them to just notice more, like be more focused on noticing what they notice, and noticing what is important to them, and then bringing that to our sessions so that we can talk about, oh, what do these things mean to you, why are these important to you, and how do we process them in case you would rather be focusing on other things and experiencing things differently. Because I mean, that's why people see me, because they're experiencing some sort of pain and some sort of challenge, and they want it to stop, and they're trying to go to all these different lengths to get it to stop or to get things to change, but they're not finding the solution. And so when they find me, I'm like, okay, well, let's go into our mental and emotional experiences by noticing what we notice, by starting to articulate and be able to bring consciousness to, okay, I'm noticing this happening, I'm noticing that happening. And then, yeah, finding the power that we have to choose how we understand what we're noticing, and then also choosing whether we want to continue noticing those same things everywhere we go, or whether we want to choose to start focusing on instead other things. And how to do that in the process of stepping people through that is, if they've never done it before, it can be super challenging and like feel very complex. But to me, it is simple because I've been doing it for so many years for myself. And now it's just a very fun practice to offer to people.
You're reprogramming your RAS. So these next sentences, they say that schemata, which is the plural of schema. So schemata influence what we pay attention to, like what we pay attention to, and also what we absorb. So people are more likely to notice things that fit into their schema. And also, at the same time, reinterpret contradictions to the schema as exceptions or distorting what they're perceiving to fit into that schemata, the schematas that they've adopted. So schemata have a tendency to remain unchanged because, for the most part, people remain unconscious of them. The only reason they remain unchanged is because we are literally not aware of them. Or we don't, even if we are aware of them, maybe we don't want to change them or whatever, but it's all up to us. It is a choice whether they change or not. So even in the face of contradictory information, people will not they will resist changing these schemata because it might seem uncomfortable or scary to accept a complete, like, information that's going to completely disrupt your paradigm. Some people find that upsetting, at least temporarily. So,
well, that's a huge reason I don't like to learn the KS material by way of workshops or even reading, even like just taking it in word for word, because it so directly speaks to the truth that if I don't feel in my body ready to accept that and unwind it, I'd just rather not take the risk of being subject to that, the awareness of that information, because I am so deeply desiring and loving, integrating truth into this embodiment, that it will end up feeling so cognitively dissonant and so difficult to process if there happens to be a certain type of truth that I realize through chaos information that, kind of breaks apart some of my constructs, some of my mental constructs that have been holding my life together in a certain configuration that, for my own personal reasons, has felt more secure and safe, and to want to hold on to those certain structures. And so a lot of my journey has been learning how to be more fluid, learning how to not cling so hard to the way that my life is organized and how my body is organized and how I think about myself and how I present myself and how I move through the world, and just allowing for these continual realizations and this information to just penetrate my awareness and allow my ever evolving self to be what it is at any moment in time, and allow for whatever constructs my life is taking on to just continue to evolve along with it. And that has been a continuous challenge and courageous effort of mine to allow to unfold. Yeah, on this planet, we have been in very limiting constraints that have provided very stable constructs for us to operate within, that are by no means healthy, but are at least predictable. And so now, within the last 20 years or so, as we are going through this very new time space reality of ascending and the shackles being broken and the constraints being removed, it feels scary. It feels like, how in the world are we supposed to continue existing without these when we've had them for thousands of years on this planet? It feels like we won't be able to continue existing on as ourselves, which is in some ways true. We need to completely reframe our concept of our identity, of who we are, in order to continue existing. And so that's why most people who come and ask me for help have suicidal ideation, are afraid of life so much that the only option that they can conceive of is dying in order to carry on. And in some aspects, that's true, because there's certain, the things, the constructs that are falling away.
It's not the body that needs to die, though.
Right.
Right? It's the identity.
It's not the body. It's not our literal entire self that needs to die. It's those constructs, which have actually already died. They've already been broken off. They're already done. And so it's just you sensing that your attachment to what has already died needs to also die, needs to also be let go of.
Or else you'll keep them alive. It'll just, you can keep them going, no?
You can, yeah, you can keep your attachments to anything. It doesn't have to be an actual,
it depends what you want, what experience
thing.
do you want to have?
Right, because everything you can imagine is real. And so if you believe that somebody is still alive that's actually dead, like, to you, that's your reality. Your reality is that that person is alive. There's nobody that can convince you otherwise, as long as you choose to believe that. And I'm giving a very, it sounds a little crazy, but people like that will often be labeled by the medical model as having dementia or having schizophrenia.
Yeah, delusion.
Right. Having delusions, having hallucinations. But all of us have access to that level of belief, and all of us are constantly employing that in our systems in different ways. So yeah, when we it's absolutely wild right now on the planet, because the majority the vast majority of the population has many, many, many layers of attachments in their RAS to systems and layers of existence that no longer exist, that are literally dead and gone. And so we could say the entire population right now is schizophrenic, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And there's very few of us who are sensing and understanding and moving along the pace of the earth, of this planet, of how everything actually is ascending and all of its steps and waves that it takes. And it's those of us who are on that path and feeling and sensing that and allowing those transformations to happen in our system. It's our calling, so to speak, to anchor this for the rest of the population, and so that the rest of them, at least if we want for humanity to continue, we don't need to want that. We don't need to do anything about that. But if that's a desire of ours, and that is a call, if that's a calling that we feel, then it is our calling to share this information and share this new awareness of what is true now that wasn't just 2 decades ago.